Did you know that every time a new Mario Kart game releases, the number of car accidents increase? I'm serious. Everyone gets so hyped up from playing the new one. When they go to drive for real, they go crazy trying to draft off cars in front of them and drift around corners. And now with Mario Kart World, where you can drive anywhere, people are going to be going off-road, trying to balance their cars on top of telephone lines. It's gonna be a nightmare. I've got to protect myself, so for the next few years, I'm traveling only by helicopter. As different as it may be, Mario Kart World doesn't cease to be a Mario Kart game. The controls feel similar, the courses still match the over-the-top design from many previous games, many of the modes return, and like many of the past titles, the game provokes the feeling of, I wish they had done it like this instead. But that's where a lot of the similarities end. And once you dive below the surface level material, Mario Kart World starts to get very, very different. Immediately noticeable is the new visual style, which discards Mario Kart 8's sleek and futuristic design for a more playful approach. Seeing each of the characters dancing in the select screen lets you know that this isn't a game that's going to be taking itself too seriously. Sorry, I know you all were hoping this would be the grim dark Mario Kart game, but I'm afraid you'll have to keep waiting. Everything in the game seems decidedly bouncy. The way the karts seem to blend into drifts and morph when you do a short hop gives the impression that the vehicles are much less rigid than before. Contributing to this is the fact that the karts have real suspension, so the wheels will be in different positions based on the type of terrain. Most surprisingly about the game is that the developers have made a concerted effort to raise the skill ceiling for experienced players. This is the same Nintendo that basically apologizes for hurting your feelings if you lose more than one life, but remarkably, they're able to keep the skill floor low for casual players too. As fascinating as a purely skill-based Mario Kart would be, Nintendo isn't going to sell 68 million copies of it to hardcore players. Besides, if you're crazy enough to want that, there's already Diddy Kong Racing. But in addition to the trademark enjoyable unfairness of item distribution, the developers have implemented options like smart steering, which is on by default, automatic item usage, and made items held behind your card instead of in your hand, taking away both the need to hold the button down and the need for the knowledge that you can. One other assistance for casual players is that the interconnected world and wider tracks for 24 racers means you're less likely to fall, which is frustrating for those more inexperienced. When you get hit by an item, just blame the person who threw it. There's no way you could have avoided it, but when you drive off the track, only someone as self-absorbed as Kanye could blame anyone but themselves. But in raising the skill ceiling, there's many additions made that allow good players to get better. First of all, you have to get comfortable with all modes of transit, not just the kart. Throughout the massive landscape of Mario Kart World, your kart will change into a plane, boat, and snowmobile. The physics are all different, and unless you're a pro Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed player, each one will take getting used to. While the tricks when going off of a jump or a turn from the past Mario Kart games, now you can do multiple tricks in the air, and they can be done while gliding. Another aspect that's been expanded from previous titles is your max speed increasing with the number of coins, with the max number you can carry doubling to 20. Also, I get the feeling that the CPU racers are smarter. In Mario Kart 8, you have to try to not get in first place, and while it's easy to win races here, it does actually take effort. Plus, the bump up to 24 racers adds more chaos to the track, so more experienced players can get into their little finger bag. But what separates the men from the boys in Mario Kart World is the new charge jump. By holding the drift button without steering, you're able to charge jump, which both leaps you into the air and gives you a boost when landing. This adds depth to what might otherwise be plain straightaways, with no other way to gain an advantage. With this addition, there's no part of any race that you can't get a boost from, if you're good. That's not all though, because flicking the analog stick to the side when you release jumps left or right, opening up all sorts of possibilities. This is where rail riding comes into play. Sometimes you can get onto rails another way, but often you'll need to charge jump onto them in order to make the magic happen. It's the same thing with wall riding, not being easy to pull off, but opening up all sorts of advantages. I'm pleased to report that right now, I'm not good at charge jumping. it's hard for me to avoid pushing the analog stick to the left or right, so I end up drifting instead. So why am I happy to say that I'm not good at this part of a video game? Is it because I'm trying to hustle people over game chat in some Mario Kart World money matches? No, it's because I can get better. I'm happy that there's a mechanic in the new Mario Kart game that I'm not good at, because I can do better in races if I improve. If the game was shallower and there was nothing to practice at, that'd be disappointing, wouldn't it? But no, instead I can keep working on my charge jump, and one day be able to pull it off with ease. The tracks have a lot of alternate paths and shortcuts, and oftentimes the only way to get to them is with a well-placed charge jump. Much like the courses of Mario Kart 8 and most others that came before it, the tracks are phenomenal. New courses like Crown City and DK Spaceport are jaw-dropping, and this iteration of Rainbow Road is proof that God is real and lives inside Mario Kart World. But even more interesting are the retro tracks. Like in older Mario Karts, a number of courses from past games make remastered appearances. Before this title, the retro reappearances were very faithful to their original versions. They looked better, but played the same. Not the case for Mario Kart World. The retro tracks are here, but are very, very different from the past. The need to fit 24 racers and the necessity of placing them in the larger world have caused these courses to undergo substantial redesigns, to the point of feeling more like new tracks inspired by the originals, rather than straightforward ports. It's impressive how the developers preserved what made these older courses unique, but delivered them in a new way. These courses are accessed through different methods, like the returning marquee mode, Grand Prix. In past Mario Karts, Grand Prix consisted of a 4-track cup, each track taking 3 laps. In Mario Kart World, Grand Prix is similar in spirit, but different in practice. Rather than racing the same 3 laps around 4 courses, here you'll only do 3 laps on the first track. From there, you'll race the remaining cups through the interconnected world, and only do 1 lap on each. It's a major departure from the Grand Prix modes in Mario Kart's past, not without both benefits and flaws. The named courses can feel like background now, not even like tracks you're racing on. It's harder to gain familiarity with only 1 lap around a track instead of 3, and the knowledge of hidden paths can be elusive for longer. The structure also gives an unbalanced focus on the first track of the cup, when all 4 are equally as fun and creative. But even with this in mind, I really like this new approach. One of my least favorite aspects of Mario Kart was racing around the same track multiple times, with 0 changes. That's why my favorite courses always had you race on 3 sections instead, like Woohoo Loop from Mario Kart 7 or Mount Wario from Mario Kart 8. With this new format, the area you're racing on is constantly fresh and rarely repeating. Your brain is bombarded with new information, making the entire cup more exciting from start to finish. Now, I could play the same cup back to back without getting bored at all, because unlike the past games, I'd be racing most of the course only the second time, not the 4th, 5th, and 6th time. Maybe others don't like the sections in between the tracks, but I enjoy them quite a bit. They might not hit the highs of the actual courses, but their lows aren't low. They're full of constant action, with cars and enemies to dodge, rails to ride, ramps to jump from, boost pads to get, item boxes and food to hit, and paths to discover. The best thing about these sections is that they let you be in the world, which is the appeal of Mario Kart World. They take you through so many environments, and it's great to see the areas change as you drive from track to track. Seeing the next course in the distance builds up anticipation, something that no previous Mario Kart has been able to achieve. I know a lot of players might have a hard time with this new Grand Prix, but I'm gonna find it hard to go back to the old way. This new formula translates over to the online races. When you finish a race, players vote on the 3 closest courses in the world. Once the Mario gods pick one, it's a race to the chosen track, then 1 lap around it. Frankly, I think this shows off the open world even better than Grand Prix. There, it's the same sequence of courses, but here, it's anything. They'll take paths to another course you'd never otherwise see, and every connecting section proves to be fun and exhilarating. But while the normal races are cool, the real centerpiece of Mario Kart World is Knockout Tour. This new mode is one long, continuous race throughout the world. Checkpoints are placed at certain locations, and at each, the last 4 racers are eliminated. This is very new for the series, but once you've done it a couple times, you wonder how you ever played a Mario Kart without it. Perhaps in answer to the long-running but never stale Battle Royale genre, Knockout Tour is a big step into the next era for Mario Kart. It would have never been possible in any other past game. They could have done it with 10 laps around the same track, but who wants that? However, in Mario Kart World, it couldn't click into place more perfectly. Rather than spending too much time in any one area, Knockout Tour gives you a sampling of many different regions. It takes you across the map, showcasing the world's diversity. But Knockout Tour isn't great just because of that. There's actually a simpler reason. Knockout Tour is great because you're always at the end of the race, the most exciting part. At every section, you risk being eliminated. This risk grows higher each checkpoint you pass. Even in first place, don't get too comfortable. Everyone who's played Mario Kart knows you can go from first to last in all of a single second. There's a few smaller modes in the game, like time trials, which I don't think anyone has played in any game of the series. Seriously, who plays time trials? The button for it might not even do anything. It's just there for extra flavor. There's 2 battle modes, Balloon Battle and Coin Runners. I've never been into these, but I tried them and had a good time with each. I preferred Coin Runners. In Balloon Battle, having 5 balloons is too much. It makes it way too hard to eliminate people or get eliminated. Instead, the timer runs out and you just see how you did. 3 balloons would have been the way to go. But the new mode that brings out the world in Mario Kart World is Free Roam. Here, you can drive wherever you want, with no constraints. Before release, this was the mode I was most excited for, but also the most nervous about. Adding an open world to a game is far from a guaranteed ticket to quality. For some games, it works well, but for others, I wonder why they bothered. Oh, it's because open world games sell well. Yeah, that's it. But this is Nintendo, the company that made Breath of the Wild. So while I had some apprehension, I'd figured they'd pull it off. I had 3 concerns about Mario Kart World's free roam. 1, that it would feel lifeless. 2, that it wouldn't be fun to drive around. And 3, that it wouldn't have anything to do. Thankfully, these concerns were alleviated. Mostly. In terms of lifelessness, I wouldn't have been shocked if it was more sterile than GM Big City. But the developers did a great job. Anywhere you go, there's tons of activity. A million cars driving around, NPCs hanging out, and enemies that notice and go after you. But most impressive is that the world actually feels like a real place people live in. There's houses and businesses everywhere, roads that look drivable, and a ton of details you might not notice while blasting by at 90 mph. That's mushrooms per hour. But these details add up to deliver on the concept of this being the Mario World. While the die-hard fan in me would have loved to see more locations from the mainline and spin-off games, that's not a downside to most players. The only true complaint I have is the fact that almost all the NPCs are Yoshis and Toads. The Mario universe has a ton of species that they could have used, or they could have been creative with the Toad designs. But no, the Mario mandate is still alive and well. My worry that free roam wouldn't be fun to drive in was completely dispelled. Driving around is a ton of fun, and I love aimlessly cruising around listening to the great music. The world is filled with ramps and rails, opening up so many possibilities. It's funny, because it's almost an anti-Breath of the Wild. In that game, Link can climb vertical surfaces. You look at a cliff and go, I can climb that. In Mario Kart World, you look at a cliff and go, I can't climb that. I gotta find a way around. So you drive around looking, and while doing so, wind up finding other little objectives in areas you otherwise wouldn't. As for things to do in free roam, there's quite a bit. It's a massive world, and you'll constantly find collectibles throughout it. There's 3 items littered around: Peach medallions to collect, question mark panels to drive over, and P-switches to give objectives. The P-switches are the big thing, and their short challenges are super fun. Some are difficult to complete and require quick reflexes. The variety in them is also strong. Yes, a lot involve collecting blue coins, but where they are will be different, so no challenges feel the same. Plus, with the gliding, driving on water, or rail riding in the mix, objectives that are the same on paper feel entirely unique. Is there a reason to do all these objectives? Calm down, I'm getting to that. But as many great things, and I mean really great things, that there are in Mario Kart World, there are some missing pieces, and a lot of them come down to free roam. There's little things, like not having separate control settings for free roam. I keep auto accelerate on so I don't have to glue my thumb to the A button, but this doesn't work well in free roam, since I'm constantly stopping, turning around, and moving the camera. You have to go into settings to turn this off, which is quick. Doing it every time, plus turning it back on when you're racing, gets annoying. Why is navigation so poor? The mini-map is good, but there's no compass directions on it. So to see which direction you're going, you have to pull up the map. All I'm asking for is a little arrow with an N on it so I know which way is north. Really, I don't even need the N. Just give me the arrow. Also, why can't I place pins on the map? If there's a piece which I can't complete, it would be helpful to put a pin where it is so I can come back and try it later. Or what about setting waypoints, Breath of the Wild style? It would be awesome if I could put a waypoint on the map and have it appear in the world, so I have a point of reference to drive to without going to the map screen again and again. Also frustrating is that when waiting for a race online, you're in the open world, but there's no P-switches, only Peach medallions. Getting into a race can take a while, which is another problem, but why can't I pass the time by doing some P-switches? And of course, the big issue. Why can't you free roam in split screen? Split screen has always been an important part of Mario Kart. The developers even stated that when talking about this game's development. So why can't you play the big new mode with someone else on the same screen? You can kind of do it while waiting for a race in online mode, but again, there's no P-switches. And if you get too far apart, the game stops and shoves you back together like a pair of fighting children. If this is a technical limitation of not being able to run the massive world twice at once on the Switch, I get that, but at least let me do split screen offline and put the P-switches out. I really like free roam, and it does a lot right, but these downsides add up. For what I thought would be the focal point of Mario Kart World, it ends up feeling like an afterthought. There's nothing that proves this better than seeing the button to get to it out on no man's land in the bottom right corner of the main menu, ostracized from all the other game modes. I have other minor gripes relating to the character roster. There's a lot of newcomers that didn't deserve to make the cut. Cow, Penguin, Snowman, and especially Pianta are cool, but many others don't need to be here. Is anyone really going to be maining Fishbone, Peepa, or Swoop? The inclusion of so many of these NPCs is annoying because there's tons of Mario characters who would have fit better. Diddy Kong gets into a Mario Kart once in a while, but he's been shafted again here. EGAD would have been perfect, and with Luigi's Mansion 3's success, he's actually relevant. And I'll beat this drum again, but Toadsworth should be in too. Nintendo is erasing him at any opportunity to the point where I'm thinking, is Toadsworth actually dead? Like, seriously, in the Mario universe, did Toadsworth just pull a wrinkly Kong and die of old age? One complaint I don't have, but I know a lot of others do, is that there's no point to all the free roam objectives. P-switch challenges, question mark panels, and Peach medallions get you stickers for your cart, which isn't much. I'm not someone who needs a reward for objectives in a game. I usually find the action of doing that thing fun on its own. This intrinsic motivation philosophy is one that Nintendo's been chasing for a while, most notably in the last two big Zelda games. For example, in Tears of the Kingdom, building a contraption might not be the most efficient way to do something, but the developers want the action of building that thing to be what's fun, so there's no external reward. While I'm fine with this, I know most people aren't the same way. Many players do need a carrot at the end of the stick to motivate them, and I hope Nintendo starts to realize this. While I may be happy collecting blue coins for the fun of it, there's plenty of people who aren't, but I do think that there was an easy solution. There's a ton of costumes to collect in this game, through the very easy process of grabbing the food item and eating it. This isn't a challenge at all, but what if it was? What if the P-switches and question mark panels gave you Peach medallions, which you then spent to unlock costumes? It would give the challenges more purpose, and make unlocking the costumes more satisfying. Plus, when racing online, you could show your expensive outfits off, flaunting how many objectives you've completed. God, Nintendo, why didn't you just call me? I could have told you to do this in 2 seconds. These flaws aside, Mario Kart World is an excellent game, and the step into a new era the series needed. There was nowhere to go after Mario Kart 8 Deluxe with the traditional formula. The developers said as much. Mario Kart World is an evolution. Maybe not one that everyone will like, but when making big changes, you're bound to shed off some fans. Were such large shifts needed, and did they pull them off? I would say yes to both. Being the main launch title for the Switch 2, Mario Kart World is one piece in a larger puzzle. Maybe we can view it as predictive of what the rest of the generation will bring, but it's actually part of a trend that's been ongoing for some time. It's another title that takes the core essence of what made its series great and reinvents itself while keeping that intact. There's two Nintendo games in recent years that have already done this: Breath of the Wild and Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Both are complete reinventions of long-running series, but at their core, they follow the same philosophy of what made those series great to begin with. Mario Kart World is another link in this chain. The mindset behind the game is the same that's behind its retro tracks. The same in spirit, but with new forms. If Mario Kart World is an example of how Nintendo plans to handle their other franchises, I think the Switch 2 will be a very exciting console.